admire the detail and the fine nuances of it, that you'd give us a new appreciation for you and who you are, that you would care about us. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, so today is going to be a little different, like usual. This morning, instead of a message per se, we're just going to do more of a study. And these topics, when I tell you what we're going to look at, don't seem like they go together, but by the time we're through, you'll see how they all connect. Anything in the Bible eventually connects if you get enough Bible on it. So really,
because the whole Bible connects.
that's right. So you really could come up with any biblical subject, and they all connect. Yeah.
So,
Okay, if you want to put a topic on it, it would be hair.
We definitely have a lot of
Hair. The Antichrist.
Okay, those two connect.
He's here?
He's here.
not there.
Hair, the Antichrist, and double trouble.
Every day's an adventure.
Okay, now, what I'm doing is I'm picking back up on a troublesome passage we hit Wednesday on hair in 1 Corinthians.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you a bunch of details on it. I don't like to leave a subject without having fully exhausted it to my power.
Gotcha.
1 Corinthians 11.
So we're doing hair.
1 Corinthians 11, verse 3 to 7. It says, but, y'all there? 1 Corinthians 11, 3 to 7. He says, but I would have you to know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Okay, so we have an authority structure right there. It starts at God, Christ, the man, and the woman. God has already outlined what his idea of authority is. Amy, go get my glasses.
You need one of those
I
extra
know.
large print Bibles.
Well,
We can go get you one.
This
Yeah.
is one right here, and this is big.
no, I'm fine. I need to be prepared in case I have to run something that's not on the screen. Okay, so there's the authority structure. It's God, man, woman, cats and dogs, or dogs and cats, however
No,
you
you
go.
forgot children.
Yeah, children.
And
Oh,
then
thanks for listening.
Verse 4. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. So who is man's head? The
Christ.
head of man is Christ.
Christ.
Correct. So if a man is going to pray or prophesy with his head covered, he's dishonoring his head. Now, he's not talking about a physical covering. However, that was done as a picture of what's going on spiritually. Just like baptism. Baptism is not what saves you. You're saved by being baptized with the Spirit. It didn't have anything to do with water. But we use water as a picture of what actually happens spiritually. So he's doing the same thing here. He's saying that the head covering is a representation of something spiritual. Now, the reason they put a cover on is to say this mind is closed for business. She doesn't have an open mind, or he doesn't have an open mind if it's covered. But the man is supposed to be receiving information direct from God. So if he puts a cover on it, he's saying, God, I don't want any more information. I'm full. That's all. Shop's closed. So he's saying for a man, it needs to stay open so that God can continually beat him up. Now talk to him.
So a man should have an open mind?
Correct. An open mind.
Why
To God.
Why did they wear the little yarmulke things then?
I don't know when that started.
Their head got
I'm just
should
curious because I see the picture, but then why would they purposely wear something?
Yeah. That's probably something that was added during the time that they decided to become God.
Ah.
The Jews decided that they couldn't obey God's rules, so they made up 5 times as many rules on their own and declared themselves God.
Congress.
Correct.
Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a bunch of
Baboons.
Baboon.
Verse 5, but every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head. Okay, who's her head?
The husband.
The husband. For that is even all as if she were shorn. Okay, so what's he saying, shorn?
Does it say shorn?
Shaven.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Why does it say shorn?
For that is all even as if she were shaven. Verse 6, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. That's shaven. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. Okay, so there he's explaining this, and he does it 3 different times, and if you're not really paying attention, you'll misunderstand what he's saying. So he's saying if the woman is going to have no covering, she might as well have no hair. Because in essence, what she's done is dishonored her husband. Because she says, I'm open to any influence. Anybody can put something in my head. He's saying the woman is supposed to have a covering. Now, it's not physical. The physical can be done or not be done. We'll see by the time we get to the end of this, Paul switches and says, I'm not talking about the physical. But the point is, she should have the man as the authority. That's why in Timothy he says that let the women keep silent in the church, and if they'll learn anything at all, let them learn at home, which they probably won't there either. But no, I get in trouble.
Amen.
I want to have a special section for comedians.
Right.
I'm
For
just,
what?
I'm
Comedians.
just trying
Yeah.
to draw heat off you, brother.
So, verse 7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God. Okay, so he says on earth, the man is supposed to be the representative of God, as far as the family is concerned. But the woman is the glory of man. So, this tells you something. Who is directly under God? Christ. So who's the glory of God? Christ. Just like in a marriage, the woman is the glory. She's the pretty one. The man ain't the pretty one.
Amen.
She's the glory of that union. And that if it's working the way it's supposed to. Now, we covered in Matthew about judging. And you're supposed to judge. Look at, back up a page, go to 1 Corinthians 10, verse 15.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If he's supposed to be my covering, and
Correct.
I'm supposed to be closed-minded to any other authority but him, can I not get information from Christ and God himself? Can he not talk to me?
No, you can. That's not the point. The point is it should come through as a channel. So when you get information, you should bring it back and say, is this right or wrong?
Okay.
Because that's your gatekeeper.
So I go talk to him, this is what I've read. What do you
Right.
think about that? Oh,
Right,
okay.
right. Okay, 1 Corinthians 10, verse 15. This is Paul. He says, I speak to wise men, judge ye what I say. So Paul's asking people to judge him. That's pretty bold. He said, look, y'all are all smarties in here, so put your thinking cap on and judge what I just said. Back to 1 Corinthians 11. We're going to go to verse 13. Verse 13 to 16. Now Paul's saying, it's not just me you need to judge in what I'm saying, but you need to even judge your thinking. How you think needs to be judged by you. Because the heart will give your mind ideas, and the heart's deceitful.
Amen.
Verse 13, judge in yourselves, is it comely that a woman pray unto God uncovered? Okay, he's talking about with no authority figure over. Doth not even nature itself teach you? that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him. Okay, so he's saying it's a shame for a man to have long hair because he can't be the glory of the union. So if he's trying to beautify the outside, he's robbed his counterpart of their job. But that's not the point of it. The next verse is 15. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given for a covering. Okay, she's given the covering. Why is she given a covering? So you recognize the difference between the Godhead. God versus Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was the glory. That's what we all saw. We didn't see, but flesh and blood could see when he walked on the earth.
He didn't have long hair though.
No.
It says in earlier we beheld his glory.
Right. So yeah, he's the glory of God, and that's what you could see. You could look at God. You can't look at. You can't look on God, not and live. So the same with the marriage. It's the woman who is the attractive party, and if the man's competing to be attractive, you got an issue.
Yeah.
No competition here, Steve.
Now we're going to switch back to him explaining, hey look, I've just done all of these analogies to prove to you something spiritual. Verse 16. But if any man seem to be contentious, that is, if anybody's got a problem with this, we have no such custom, neither in the churches of God. So he's saying, look, I'm not, if you're mad because somebody's got longer hair than the other person or somebody's hair is shorter than the other one and y'all are trying to come up with legalistic rules, look, we don't have any customs. There's not any chart that you have to, like you got to be this tall to ride the ride. There's not any of that when you come into the church. What the real point is the spiritual side of it, not the physical hair and all that. That you'll know from you and God. Or your husband. John chapter 7. This is another way you know. Now this is not Paul speaking here, this is John. But this is how you'll know that it's not just talking about the outward legalistic rules. Remember, Paul told us to judge ourselves. So let's see if we can line that up with this philosophy. John 7:24, judge not according to the appearance. Okay. But judge righteous judgment. So if we were to take that verse, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, and apply it back to 1 Corinthians 11, that takes the physical appearance, the long hair, the head covering, all of those things out, and it reverts you back to putting the emphasis on the spiritual, because we're going to judge righteous judgment versus the appearance. Now you should want to make your appearance match what the spiritual is. The physical should follow. Here's an Old Testament example. Jeremiah 7:28. Jeremiah 7, verse 28. Okay, Jeremiah 7, starting in verse 28, we'll go down to verse 31. But thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. So he's not happy with what they've been doing. Verse 29. Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem, and cast it away. Take up a lamentation on high places, for the Lord hath rejected and forsaken the generation of his wrath. So he's telling Jerusalem, hey, look, Jerusalem as a city, you need to cut your hair. Why? Because the inhabitants, the totality of Jerusalem, has decided they're going to be God, not let God be God. So he says they no longer have a covering because they want to take influence from anywhere. And they were. They were taking it from the heathens around them, as well as trying to follow the law. They were just trying to please everybody. So he says, go ahead and shave your head. You might as well. That's what you're doing. You're taking advice from everybody. Verse 30, for the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, said the Lord. They have set their abominations in the house which they call by my name and have polluted it. So they still went to the temple. They just went there while they were carrying the Ouija board with them. I mean, that's in essence.
Right.
Verse 31, and they have built the high places to Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burnt their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not, neither came it into my heart. They said, we're not on the same page. You might as well chop your head off, or chop your head off, might as well do that too. You might as well chop your hair off just to show everybody that you're taking everybody's advice. They were doing exactly what they do in India. All religions are honorable. No, they're not. And you've got to find a final authority.
Religion's
Amen.
not a nut.
Right.
Amen.
Now, you notice in verse 28 of that, no, 29. Cut off thine hair, O Jerusalem. So Jerusalem must be a woman. It must be female. You'll find all cities mentioned in the Bible are female. We found information about the gender of dogs and hogs last Wednesday.
Pigs.
All right.
The rhyming.
The swine is female and the dog is male. Here the cities are female. Look at Galatians 4:26.